over documents of the truth about apostates. So in this chapter, well, in the back of the book, really, the back of the truth about apostates, the Scientology story, there's a section called documents. As you'll be able to see, it's right there. This section has affidavits, documents that were provided to the court, and exhibits to prove the case, right? A letter to David Miscavige himself from a now apostate confessing to his crimes. Also have many other testimonies, and then, yeah, pretty interesting, right? I have an affidavit in the back of this book by L. Ron Hubbard. He goes over he dispels a rumor that has been being spread about him in the church and some policies that he wrote, and how they've been misrepresented. I won't say what they are because I don't want to spread that misconception any further. So go ahead and go check that out. It's on page 60 and it ends on 63. And then also 64 has the cancellation communication from Mr. Hubbard, the founder of Scientology. Now, what's interesting about this that I'm about to show you is there's an invoice from to one of the apostates that spread a false story about Tom Cruise and Scientology. This is just proof that they do get paid a pretty hefty and handsome sum for the controversy, which is the lies and the misconceptions that they spread. And that's why I said in this book that they're getting paid the money for their bills and their rent and so on and so forth. So here it is. You probably can't see it fully, but it's an invoice for $10,000. It was provided to the court. I explain what it is up here. It says, this is the receipt of just one payment to Mark Headley for a rumor-filled piece about Tom Cruise and Scientology. That amount is $10,000. Just one payment, meaning there are more payments. There are more payments, but besides the $10,000, right? The fact is that Mark is paid. It was part of the ASC, which is a member of the anti-Scientology cult. It is in one of the series it is in one of the videos of this video series that you will see. Go back to it if you don't remember what that is. Anti-Scientology cult, ASC, and they get paid to lie. This invoice was in 2009 because he was told to show up in court to be deposed. Here's an IRS tax miscellaneous income form for Mark Headley. Probably can't see it, but it's a 2006 one. It specifies a lot of money there, a couple thousand. Pretty interesting, right? Now there's this other document here. It's now apostate Mike Render's handwritten letter to David Miscavige. August 2003. This is what he said. I'm going to read it to you. This is what Mike Render says. It's titled My Honesty. It says, Dear Sir. He's addressing it to David Miscavige. So, Dear Sir, thank you for coming by to see me. And I redacted the name that he came in with tonight. And I want to apologize for wasting your time and creating further tribulation, which is upset. Right? Further upset. I sat down and really did some soul searching with the assistance of the others, as I previously still had not confronted the depths of my out ethics and suppressive acts. Many times I've looked at the overts I've committed. Overts are wrongdoings. Scientology term for wrongdoings, right? So many times I've looked at the overts I've committed when I have lied to you. And I've always had the idea that it was bad because it had caused upset, but not really confronted it as a basic violation of integrity and therefore something far more fundamental and degraded. It is a reflection of my cowardice and lack of integrity that I would do this, and it's just black and white wrong and a low toned suppressive trait. Low tone, there's a tone scale in the church, right? And it's basically it's a chart of all of the emotional tones, emotional feelings that you go through on a daily basis, whether it be anger, enthusiasm, cheerfulness, and so on and so forth. Low would mean something as in like anger, something as in antagonism, so on and so forth. Look that up at Scientology.org. I've done it many times with you, and I have always had some justification for it, that I then didn't really confront it for what it is. I finally confronted this for real. There's no justification or Q&A, questions or answers about it. There's no questioning it. It's wrong. It's low-toned, and especially under the circumstances of being in the midst of a war, it's oppressive. The church was being attacked around this time, previously in the 90s, and he hadn't confessed this until now, and until 2003. Been a couple of years, right? So here it is. I don't mean it's okay at any time. It's not. But the times I have done this with you have been when my neck, quote unquote, has been so precious to me that I have been willing to put you and the church in danger because of it. Interesting, huh? Bet you he didn't tell you that, huh? I looked at a lot of things that finally opened this door because I felt I was still to some degree trying to hold on to some rightness, which is why I didn't answer me when you asked who was the worst last night in the calm lag tonight. Okay, so let me explain that. He's talking about Mr. Miscavige comparing him and the other person and who was acting the worst, who had violated the most, who had violated the codes the most, right? Just as a comparison for the two individuals in front of him. And Mike Rinder wanted to say me, but he didn't. And calm lag means communication delay, really. So like you ask me a question and I wait, a good chunk of time before answering it. That's a delay of communication, right? I went back to the time in there's a headquarters in Clearwater, right? And the successful actions from that time. I've always hung on to the idea that there were things right about that time and the operating basis with, and he didn't really write very legibly, so I do not know what he said here, but he says operating basis with blah was to always be a good subordinate and always say things are under control unless it was reporting on someone else being a screw up. But never was I a screw up or responsible for anything wrong other than handling someone else, quote unquote. This is the thing I confronted. That whole scene was an out ethics sham, which is out ethics means not ethical, unethical, not in accordance with the moral codes and violating your integrity. So out ethics sham. I see now this false assertion is just that, a false assertion that I've held in place to prove him right. This then led me to really confront my integrity with respect to telling the truth and how I hate myself about this, no matter how I justify it. Mike Rinder hates himself, no matter how he justifies it. Still doing this today. I know I have taken a long time to have this realization, and you have pointed it out to me many times, and I've never been willing to look at this for the black and white issue it is, because it's a point of my own integrity first. Violating my own integrity has caused terrible results. So as you can see, the church really didn't cause Mike Rinder to write this letter to David Miscavige. He took it upon himself to confess what he was going through. Because deep down inside, he felt bad about what he'd done. No matter if he'd actually confess it now, because he's being paid by some criminals, and which makes him an accessory to those crimes. I do appreciate your insistence that I actually confront this. It actually was a major realization and relief to see something that is so obvious to you and others. With all the justifications I have had in place, telling the truth under certain circumstances was in my universe no different than telling a lie or withholding. But that is no longer the case, as I finally recovered my integrity on this and will never operate in the suppressive fashion again. Wow. Well, you definitely contradicted that. But let me read that one line again. It says this: telling the truth under certain circumstances was in my universe no different than telling a lie. Well, interesting, because he contradicts this now. Because if he's confessing it now, I mean, if he's confessing it in this letter in 2003, and he's been continuing on with his suppressive traits, what he says in here, how he hates himself, no matter how he justifies it, that how he's degraded, how he knows it's black and white wrong, and how it's a reflection of his cowardice. You have to understand, he just said it all in here. And he says, this is okay. ML, which stands for much love, Mike Rinder. You can find this full document on standleague.org. They have it up there too. But it's kind of sad how somebody goes down a path that, pretty criminal and violates their own integrity, even after confessing it, right? Confessing it openly and as, in a letter, I mean, handwritten and everything. So, yeah, that's just that. And then this is an affidavit from Mike Rinder around the time this quote unquote war was going on. This is an affidavit from Mike Rinder to dispel the false rumors about Scientology in a former case against the church. Interesting, huh? That starts at page 69, and it goes until 80. So there's quite a few pages in there, man. Quite a few pages. That's what's in the back of this book. So I'm going to read you a few points in this affidavit. I want you to read the rest when you get the book. This is one of the statements he says in here. It is apparent that their effort, he's talking about the apostates effort, to denigrate the leader of the religion, which is David Miscavige, is part of a campaign to create a false impression of and thereby denigrate Scientology. The lies that have been propagated in this case are vile beyond description. Their purpose, as made clear by Granberry himself, is to use them as a threat to extort funds from the church. They have gotten away with this barrage of lies so far, and as a consequence, Barry now has the president of this case to use to create a future threat that he hopes will prompt the Church of Scientology International, or CSI, to pay to make him take his lies and go away. That was, this is actually in an affidavit, so it's under penalty of perjury in the United States. And then here's, he's talking about two people that were expelled, right? But this was like before. This is like when they were being, kind of like they were talking in the church kind of deal, right? Trying to get it all handled. Even then, they were given the opportunity to redeem themselves within the church. While they now rail against Mr. Miscavige and unleash the foulest lies about him their imaginations can concoct, any Scientologist would have thought it totally proper under the circumstances for those people to have been expelled from the church without a chance for mercy. However, he gave them another chance. Mr. Miscavige even helped these two people get themselves established in a new job. They were encouraged to continue in Scientology and treated civilly, as even they have testified elsewhere. So there's so much more. I've actually highlighted them all for you in these books, so you can actually see them. The pages are all there. Everything's great. It's all pointed out, even word for word, been verified and everything. So there it is. This is in The Truth About Apostates. This has been a great video series. I'll probably expand on it more very soon. But until then, you have the video series, and you can now get the book. And you can also get the set of books that I've written on these subjects. You can get The Truth About Apostates, you can get Escaping Leah, and you can get The Hidden Agenda, all at a discounted rate. You can also just get this book. If you pay the shipping, I'll send it to you immediately. Okay? So it's at exposingcrimes.com. Thank you so much for listening to these videos. And let me know if you guys have any questions. Email me at ryanprescott98@gmail.com. If you have been sent to this video series by your friend, family member, coworker, whoever it may be, definitely a great individual, and just as interested in getting you the truth to make up your mind about it. I'm not trying to make your mind up about it. It's your own truth. You can decide what you believe or what you don't believe. Thank you so much. I super appreciate it, and take care, and I'll see you next video.